gun violence that is growing so rapidly there that one city official said the city is under attack.
People become so conditioned to the sound of gunfire in their neighborhoods, they weren't even calling the police.
It sounds terrible, and it is for those people, but it's an utterly misleading soundbite, says John Lott, founder of the Crime Prevention Research Center.
Yeah, I mean, murder, violent crimes gone down dramatically in the last 25 years.
They were talking about Indianapolis, where it's up, and Camden, where it's always been bad.
There are lots of factors that can affect crime in local areas, the police and other things, but nationally and even in most big cities, violent crime's been down substantially.
Now, you wrote a book titled More Guns, Less Crime, which makes no sense to most people.
Well, just as you can deter criminals with higher arrest rates or higher conviction rates, the fact that victims can defend themselves can also make it risky for criminals to go and engage in crimes. We've seen, as you mentioned, a tripling of concealed handguns over the last 7 years, and murder rates and violent crimes have fallen.
Let me ask the audience here, I gather your sympathies. How many of you own a gun? Which is unusual for New York, where I tried to get a permit here and I gave up. They turned me down after months of trying, and $430.
It's basically poor people who are most likely to be victims of violent crime are the ones who benefit the most from owning guns. But the types of huge fees and training requirements, they're the ones who are priced out of being able to own a gun from these regulations.
My former mayor, Mike Bloomberg, now has a gun control group. They say since Newtown there have been 74 school shootings. How many more before our leaders pass common sense laws to prevent gun violence?
I've looked at all their studies. Every one has like huge errors. In this one case, they claim 74. The actual number is like 10. And they include things like somebody who used his gun defensively to stop two attackers is a Newtown. They include somebody who commits suicide by themselves at 2 a.m. in the morning in the parking lot. And it's just outrageous that the media repeats these things without carefully
We invited them to come on this program. They wouldn't come out. They did give us a response, which is that anytime a gun goes off at a school, students and parents are rightfully concerned.
If you look at the number of deaths in schools from guns, they've fallen over the last couple decades. The number of school shootings have gone down dramatically. It's just another one of these cases where the media has kind of created this hysteria where, in fact, we have a lot of good things that are happening in those areas.
And speaking of the media hysteria, Dr. Manny pulled out the newspaper saying that mass shootings are up, says the FBI. But let's put the whole chart up. And you see that the trend line is down.
They start in 2000, which just happens to be 2000, 2001, just happen to be very low years in terms of attacks. About a third of their cases don't even involve people getting hurt by gunfire. You know, there's maybe been a shot someplace in a public area, and they count that as a mass shooting. But nobody was injured, nobody was killed.
Well, why is it mass if nobody is...
You ask the FBI people who put the thing together.
Well, let's continue the Bloomberg argument then. Here's another ad by his group. It depicts a woman victimized in her home by her ex-husband.
Open the door!
I need you to stay calm.
He just broke in the door. You need to come now. Get away from him. Hey! Put him down! Get away! Get out of here!
I'm taking him!
But the commercial's odd because the violent ex-husband could just as easily be an argument for gun ownership. Had the woman owned a gun, she could have defended herself.
Yeah, here's the point. I mean, I agree with you. The point is the man is much stronger than the woman is. The presence of a gun represents a much bigger change in her ability to defend herself than it does for a man to go and do the attack. He's already much stronger. And so, you know, if anything, what you find is that women benefit much more than men do from having guns.
Well, we threw that at the Bloomberg group, too. They said we should be focused on keeping guns out of the hands of domestic abusers in the first place. The presence of a gun in a domestic violence situation, whether it belongs to the woman or her abuser, makes it 5 times more likely that the woman will be killed.
The Bloomberg people just can't get these things right. The very study...
They cited a study.
I know, but if you actually read the study, maybe they're used to media people that don't read the studies.
We read the study. It doesn't say what they say.
It says the opposite. That women who are separated that have guns have a lower probability of that type of harm happening to them.
finally, just break it down. There are a lot of people killed by guns in America, more than 30,000. The majority of cases
Or
suicide,
suicides.
19,000. Murder, 11,000. A lot of that is gang warfare.
Right.
The accidental deaths, 591. And for kids under 15, 74. Still terrible.
Right. No, I mean, better if it was zero in terms of all those things. The question is, how do we stop them? Surely more police are important, higher arrest rates, conviction rates. But the thing is, when you talk to the police, they themselves will tell you that they can't be there all the time. The question becomes, what should victims do when they're having to confront a criminal by themselves? And having a gun is by far the safest course of action for them to take at that point.